Good day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. I'm FPL Root and welcome back to another FPL video. So in today's video, we're going to go through some transfer targets ahead of double game week 25. So at the minute, we don't actually know what teams are going to double, but this is kind of the scenarios that could happen. So it all kind of relies on the Carabao Cup semi-finals. At the minute, Tottenham are leading Liverpool 1-0. They played their first game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then in the other semi-final, Newcastle have beaten Arsenal 2-0 at the Emirates Stadium. So in the second leg, basically, Liverpool will be playing at Anfield against Spurs, and Newcastle will be playing at St James's Park against Arsenal. So basically, the scenario is if Arsenal beat Newcastle, Arsenal will have a double game week, and if Arsenal beat Newcastle, Chelsea will have a double game week. So as you can see on screen now, Arsenal will end up playing Leicester away, Chelsea at home. So very, very good double game week for them. Again, it's unlikely. Personally, I do feel it's unlikely because Newcastle have a 2-0 lead and they're going to be at home. I can't see them losing the game by 3 goals or even 2 goals and then taking it to penalties, etc. I can't see that. And for me, I don't want to talk too much on this scenario. I will be recommending some players from Arsenal and Chelsea, but I don't want to talk too much on this scenario because I feel it's very unlikely that Arsenal will end up overthrowing that two goal loss against Newcastle at St James's Park under the lights midweek. I just can't see it, to be honest with you. But if it does happen, like I said, Leicester away, Chelsea at home for Arsenal, Brighton away, Arsenal away. It's a little bit tougher for Chelsea. However, what is the most likely to happen is if Liverpool beat Spurs. So it's only 1-0 and they're playing at Anfield. There's every chance that Liverpool will end up beating Spurs by 2 or more goals. And in that case, they will mean Aston Villa will have a double game week. So Ipswich at home, Liverpool at home, 2 home games, and it will mean that Liverpool have a double game week of Wolves at home and Villa away. So two good fixtures, I'd say, for Liverpool. Villa away can be tough, but Villa's form at the minute has been terrible. And then obviously Villa, you've got that Ipswich at home game and a really, I guess, tough other home game against Liverpool, but you do expect them to beat Ipswich at least. Another scenario, although unlikely, but not unlikely as Arsenal overthrowing Newcastle's 2-0 scoreline, is if Tottenham end up beating Liverpool and going through to the next round. So they do have a 1-0 advantage. Even if they draw, they're through. Spurs end up having a double game with Man United at home, Fulham away. Not the best, but a good chance to maybe bring in a few Spurs players. Now they're getting a few players back from injury. They've just signed another centre back. So the defence is starting to come back together. They still have loads of injuries, don't get me wrong, but a few are starting to come back together a little bit. And yeah, Fulham will also get a double game week if Spurs end up going through with Forest at home and Spurs away. Spurs at home. So 2 home games for Fulham. On fire at the minute, just one at St James's Park. Obviously, Forest and Spurs not going to be the easiest games, but Fulham at home, you've got to fancy them. But yeah, so we're going to talk about basically different options on different scenarios. For me, as a Spurs fan, I want to say Spurs are going to get the job done, get a draw at Anfield. Liverpool have got loads of games coming up at the minute, and I do feel like they're going to rest a few players, to be honest with you. Trent's gone off injured as well now, so Bradley will probably play. And yeah, it's hard to don't make any decisions before these games, before the Carabao Cup games, or even before the FA Cup games, to be honest with you. But for now, I just want to put in some things into your head about what players you need to be looking at and seeing what moves you can make in order to get these players in, depending on what scenario. Let me know in the comments below who you think's going to go through. Personally, I'm going with Newcastle and Tottenham. More of a hope with Tottenham, but I feel like away we're actually not too bad defensively away from home, and I think we can go there and get a draw. And yeah, end up going through to the cup final against Newcastle. But yeah, let me know who you think is going to go through in the comment section below, and we'll move on to the transfer targets.
Yo, it's FPL Root bringing you the stats, top picks, hot tips, all the league facts. They say Root rock, that's all the flow. Subscribe, hit the bell. Welcome to the show.
So next up, I wanted to talk about 2 defenders. So the only reason you'd be bringing them in is if Spurs do end up getting through against Liverpool. If they don't, then these players are irrelevant, to be honest. Even though I think a lot of you probably do have Robertson in your team because he's pretty highly owned. He's over 25% owned. He's 5.1 million, and what a season he's had. Honestly, I've had him the whole time. He's been very, very good this season. 10 assists. Fulham, in terms of clean sheets, haven't been the best, to be honest with you. Only 4 clean sheets, but his assists are making up for that. And to be honest, I just want to play him every single game. His attacking threat, he's up and down. To be honest, he really does deserve a goal. And for me, he's one of the best fullbacks out there at the minute. And I think a lot of clubs will be coming in for him in the summer. In terms of shots and shots on target, 14 shots, 2 on target, 4 shots in the box, expected goals not high up there, but to be honest, it's okay. He definitely should probably be getting more goals in to add to his assists. Big chances won, big chances created, 4 key passes, 32. Pedro Porro, 2 goals, 5 assists for him this season. He obviously hasn't had the best season with Spurs and defensively for them, but we know what a threat he can be going forward. And in terms of kind of his suitability for this double game week, like I said, it would be a pretty good double game week for Spurs. They'd obviously play Fulham, and then they'd also play Man United at home, which again is not an easy game, but Spurs will probably fancy being Man United with their form at the minute. And to be honest, Spurs' form ain't the best, but yeah, they'll probably fancy being Man United. 5.4 million he is, just over 20% owned. Like I said, with Robertson, he is attacking as well. 2 goals, 5 assists. So in terms of goal involvements, he's not far off Robertson, and he's got the same amount of clean sheets as Robertson. So I know a lot of people do think Spurs defensively haven't been the best, and they haven't. Don't get me wrong, but to match Robertson for clean sheets, there's not much in these two. Obviously, 0.3 million more for Pedro Porro, and Robertson in terms of assists is way up there. Um, However, in terms of points, it's not too dissimilar in terms of points. For me, though, I'd say if they both obviously they have to both get a double game week, and for me personally, I think I would just rather Robertson because of that attacking threat from him and because of the 2 home games. And like I said, one of them being Forest, obviously going to be tough, and then the other one Spurs, but I can see him getting attacking returns in that one. And the fixtures after for Robertson are Palace at home, Wolves away, Brighton away. So they are okay fixtures. Where as Spurs, the fixtures are not terrible, but like I said, they've got Man United, then it'll be Fulham, it'll be Ipswich away, Man City at home, Bournemouth. So a little bit tougher, but you obviously got that Ipswich game with Pedro Porro. I think if you're chasing in your mini leagues, I'd be going for Pedro Porro. If you want to play it a little bit more safe, a player that you can probably keep in the long run and it won't cost you too much, or you're saving 0.3 million, I'd probably go for someone like Robinson. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll move on to the next player. So we are keeping with the same scenario that Spurs do go through and Fulham and Spurs do double. And again, I wanted to go for 2 players that are not too dissimilar in price. Yes, the Spurs asset is a little bit more at 6.4 million, and Iwobi is 5.8 million. But Kulusevski and Iwobi, I think, are similar sort of players where they're not really, I'd say, out there to get goals and assists. I think they're out there to be the kind of assist before the assist. But this season, they've both done very, very well. 7 goals, 3 assists for Iwobi. He's been one of Fulham's best players. He's Fulham's highest scorer, and Kulusevski Spurs' highest scorer apart from Madison. 6 goals, 4 assists for Kulusevski, so both with 10 attacking returns. In terms of shots, Iwobi is taking way more shots than Kulusevski, which is clear, which is probably something you do want, but Kulusevski's getting them shots from closer in, shots in the box, and his expected goals is higher than Iwobi's, whereas expected assists for Iwobi is higher. Considering that he's got less assists than Kulusevski, that is an interesting stat. Bigger chances for Kulusevski and bigger, higher amount of key passes as well. So I think it is a bit of a muchness. For me, some would say maybe Kulusevski is not nailed because of the attacking threat that Spurs do have. But for now, to be honest with you, with the injuries and with the way Kulusevski's playing as of late, there's no way he's getting dropped. The only game he didn't start was the first game of the season. So for me, Kulusevski's nailed. He obviously has hot and cold flushes, But for me, again, it'd come back to I probably wouldn't be going for a Wobie. I don't know if I'm just a little bit scarred by owning a Wobie and then benching him when he does do well. But for me, a Wobie is a player that will get 15 points here and there. You've just got to hope it's when you have him in. Whereas Kulusevski, I think, will chip away more with the odd assist, with the odd goal, and kind of tick away more nicely. And probably, I'd say, a little bit more consistent. Although it does go on runs, but yeah, normally it's maximum 2 blank game weeks. And he's still been getting goals and assists while Spurs have been on this terrible run. So for me, I would be going for Kulusevski if Spurs do double. I think the fact that he probably takes most corners now, Madison is injured. Potentially could be playing as a false nine with Solanke out injured if he doesn't want to play Richarlison there the whole time. That could also go to Son, but I didn't want to mention Son in this video because I think his price does put a lot of people off, and it does put me off, to be honest with you. So for me, if Spurs do double, I like Kulusevski as an option. Iwobi, for me, is just not enough of a goal threat. Yes, you got the assist, but yeah, for me, I think Kulusevski is the one to go for if you are looking around that price point. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll get on to the next players. Now we've got 2 strikers here. We've got Raul Jimenez, who has obviously been a little bit more consistent than someone like Richarlison this year. Richarlison has struggled with injuries. He's only just come back recently, and Raul Jimenez has ended up starting 19 games out of his 24 appearances. Obviously, 9 goals, 2 assists is much better than 2 goals, 1 assist, and you can't really compare any of the other stats. However, I just want to look at Raul Jimenez a little bit closer because 9 goals, 2 assists is not too bad for 19 starts. It's a kind of a return every other game, more than every other game. However, I am a bit worried about Rodrigo Muniz. They do have a very, very good, I guess, replacement number 9. I know Muniz has only started 5 games this year, but we know when he does come on, he's got 4 goals, 1 assist, and we know when he does play and he does come on, he does get a goal, as we saw in the last game, in game week 24, against Newcastle. He did end up scoring the winner. So for me, that would put me off Raul Jimenez. I do think he'll start, but the coming off early is a little bit worrying for me. I do want my attackers to end up playing most of the game. And he's come off after the 72nd minute, 63rd minute, 70th minute, 67th minute in the past. So for me, I don't want that at all. So for me, Raul Jimenez is a no-go as an option unless Rodrigo Muniz ends up getting injured. His price, you could argue that it's probably worth it, but for me, I think there's better options out there that have a single game week. Someone like Chris Wood, if you don't own him already, 5.6 million for Muniz. Richarlison, on the other hand, he's just come back from injury, so it is tough to say how he's going to get on, but he's come back from injury, started 1 game this season, he's got 2 goals, 1 assist. So for me, his form towards the end of kind of last season was pretty good. And for me, I don't know if it's worth the risk. I think I'd rather go for Kulusevski in midfield, but if you did want a forward spot, I don't hate Richarlison as an option. Like I said, he did start against Leicester in game week 23. This has been filmed before the Brentford game, but he only played 53 minutes and he came on at half time against Everton and got a goal. So for me, Richarlison is a massive punt. And I think with Dane Scarlett getting a goal now, I think it might limit Richarlison in terms of coming off early for Scarlett if Ange does give him a go. Also, like I said, Kulusevski can play false 9 and Son can play up front. For me, I'd probably avoid both of them, but if you did want an option, I think Richarlison could be a punt, but for me, I'd stay well clear, to be honest with you. I think go for one of the midfielders instead. Anyway, now let's talk about the managers, because obviously I know some people have activated or will activate their assistant manager chip. So we'll start off with Marco Silva, who's 1.1 million, and his first match that this chip was kind of available, he ended up getting no points because they lost to Man United. However, they did beat Newcastle 2-1 and ended up with 18 points. Newcastle are more than 5 places above Fulham, so he ended up getting a bonus as well. So yeah, he smashed it with 18 points, to be honest with you. Postecoglou is the same price, 1.1 million. They lost to Leicester, and obviously this has been filmed before the Brentford game. For me, I want Postecoglou, to be honest with you. If I just get up the league table, if you're watching it somewhere, try and get up the league table. But Spurs are now 16th, and let's just assume they stay there. If they do end up playing Fulham, they're more than 5 places above them, so that would be a bonus if they do end up beating Fulham. And for me, an extra 10 points for Spurs to beat Fulham. Yes, Spurs have been terrible this year, but I'll take that all day long. Also, the Man United at home game. Man United currently are 4 places above Spurs, so you could do really with Man United winning this game, and yeah, ended up going a bit more higher than Spurs, and then they'll end up, I guess, having the opportunity to beat Man United at home and get a bonus. For me, I think I'd rather go for Ange Postecoglou because of that bonus, and because I think Fulham Spurs is going to be an even game. I know Fulham are a decent team this season, but Spurs are getting players back, and for me, the fact that Spurs have that double game week, if they obviously do end up getting through at Liverpool, with Man United at home, chance for bonus, Fulham at home, chance for bonus, and then they've got Ipswich away in game week 26. So if you did activate kind of last week, you still get that game. However, I probably will jump off in game week 27 if you're only activating in game week 25. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think this chip is perfect for someone like Ange, to be honest with you, because the fact that Spurs are in a false position. I'm not saying they haven't been terrible this year, but they're a better team than 16th in the league. And I think with a few players coming back, potentially getting a few results here and there, and starting to climb the table, if you can get on the start of that, maybe potentially this double game, it could be see them get a win, maybe even get 2 wins. Then you're laughing. You could end up with 40 points. So for me, Ange is the perfect manager to play this chip in, and especially with the fact that they've got teams more than 5 places above them, or potentially will be more than 5 places above them by the time they play or by the time the game week starts. For me, I do really, really like this chip to be played on Ange. So I'm hoping Spurs do get through against Liverpool and I'm allowed to switch my assistant manager onto Ange. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, because I've seen a lot of people prefer Marco Silva. So for me, I just think it makes sense to go for the bonus, go for Spurs. You know they're going to score goals no matter what. And yeah, for me, I think it's worth it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll move on to the next scenario. So now this is if Liverpool do end up going through against Spurs. I wanted to highlight a couple defenders, so Luka Dean and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, the price difference is massive: 4.6 million for Luka Dean and 7.4 million for Trent Alexander-Arnold. However, in terms of assists, it's only two. Trent is only two in front, and for me, I do like the look of Luka Dean. I just don't love Villa defensively, to be totally honest with you. I know you kind of associate Unai Emery with clean sheets, but they've only kept, well, yeah, they've only kept 3 this season. So for me, that's not good enough for kind of worrying, maybe having him as a must buy. Whereas Trent has kept 9 clean sheets, so they're clear defensively better. Obviously, we've had this injury news to Trent. He did come off um, against Bournemouth, and then he'll probably end up missing the Carabao Cup game and missing the FA Cup game. But luckily for people that do own him now, he'll probably be back for that Everton game on the 12th of Feb. It's just a muscle injury, and to be honest, it's probably not the worst thing. He gets to rest 2 games, recover, maybe play that Everton game, and then be ready for the next double game week. Because obviously they do get through against Spurs. Um, for me, Trent's a superior option because of that clean sheet threat. However, if you did want cover, and I know a lot of people have already got free Liverpool or they've got Arnie Slot, etc. So I don't want to talk about Liverpool players too much, but if you do have a Liverpool spot, I don't mind Trent at all. However, a lot of people probably don't have free Aston Villa. It kind of depends on your team setup, and I think Luka Dean is their best defender to go for. 4 assists this season. We know he can score free kicks, and we know he can be attacking. Yeah, for me, I don't love him because of the defensive situation, but who knows what could happen in double game week. It would be Chelsea, so it would be Ipswich at home and then Liverpool at home for them. So 2 home games, one against the bottom side, one against the top side, and then Liverpool. Obviously, I've mentioned it before, but they'll have Wolves at home and then a Villa away. So 2 teams in the West Midlands. Wolves, they're expected to win, but Villa could be tough for them depending on what Villa turn up. For me, if you've got the money, go for Trent. If you've got a Liverpool spot, go for Trent. If you need to get some Aston Villa players in because you don't have, maybe you've only got Rodgers, then I don't hate Luka Dean at all. I think he's the best out of their Villa defensive, but don't expect too many clean sheets. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll move on to the next couple players. So now I want to talk about a couple attackers. Again, the same rules apply. If you've got too many Liverpool players, then probably go for the Villa option here. Obviously, we've had some news that Watkins did come off injured in Villa's last game. It could be a bad one, but for now, I'm just keeping him in because he could be Durant if Durant ends up staying, because I think they're both as good as each other. Watkins, though, 10 goals, 5 assists this season, hasn't been, I guess, as good as last season, but it's still been decent. Last season, he ended up on 19 and 18 assists. This season, he's probably on track to get, I guess, the same goals, but not as many assists. But he has, yeah, played kind of a couple less games. So for me, Watkins is a must own if he is fit. And 10 goals, 5 assists, as I said. The shots are way above Gakpo's. Definitely more of a goal threat. Gakpo's probably more of an assist threat, more of a kind of a midfielder, key passes. However, there is a price difference between them. 8.9 million Watkins, 7.6 million Gakpo. I won't talk too much about Gakpo because, again, if you're bringing him in, you're probably bringing him last week, so I wouldn't really probably bring him in this week, because they do have Man City away. Then they have Newcastle as well in game weeks 26, 27. But for Villa, with that Ipswich at home game and then a couple decent games outside of that with Chelsea at home, should be good for them, I think. Palace away, Brentford away. I think Watkins is the player to go for if that is a big if he is fit. If not, Duran, if he does start, if he does stay, he only started 4 games. He's got 7 goals. He's been very, very good, and that's why a lot of teams are after him because he is sitting on the bench at Villa. If he is okay, he's only 5.7 million. So a lot of people are probably, I won't say hoping, but probably wouldn't mind Watkins being, I guess, not available to play in the double game week and then bringing in Duran for 5.7 million. However, a lot of people are probably thinking that could Duran still go and then they'll play someone like Malin up front, who they did bring on, and play up front in the game against Wolves. And to be honest, he didn't look that good. He had a couple chances, but yeah, not that good. So for me, if Duran stays and Watkins is injured, bring in Duran. If Watkins is fit, I'd bring in Watkins. Gakpo, if you don't already own, I wouldn't be getting him now. Let's move on to the next couple players. So again, I won't go too much into this one because if you want slot, you probably have already got slot. There are some people that have maybe triple captain Salah and decided maybe I'll wait for slot to get slot in later on. But I think a lot of people that have got slot have already got him in. 10 points in both of these last games. They did score 4 against Bournemouth, but I mean, they scored 4 against Ipswich in the first game, but then they scored 2 and got a clean sheet against Bournemouth. So 2 10-pointers, which is very, very good for him. Unai Emery got a draw against West Ham and obviously lost against Wolves, but he's only 0.8 million. For me, it's a tough one. I probably, if I had slot now, I'd keep him. I probably wouldn't be bringing him in now because I'd be thinking that I should have just bought him in ahead of double game week 24. If there was a reason why you couldn't do that, then I don't mind it, to be honest with you. And again, like I said, with the way Villa are defending, it's not the best. Ipswich at home should be a guaranteed winning clean sheet, but you never know, and I can't see them beating Liverpool, to be honest with you. But if you are chasing your mini leagues, I would be going for Unai Emery, definitely. The fact that it's Ipswich at home and then Liverpool at home, 2 home games, one against bottom, one against top, one transfer bonus. For me, I'd be going for him. But as I said with Postecoglou and Silva, I think the best bet for people that are wanting to be a bit maverick is for Spurs to get through and play it on Postecoglou. I think that's the highest ceiling. Yes, slot could be the option, the boring option, but for me, it's just not enough points in there, especially the fact that they are not the best games for someone like Liverpool. I know they're top of the league, but Wolves at home should be a win to nil. Villa away could be tough for them. For me, I do prefer slot, but I think if you're chasing, you have to go for Emery. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll move on to the next scenario. I'll just quickly brush over the Chelsea and Arsenal options because for me, you probably own a couple Arsenal, potentially a couple Chelsea with Palmer, maybe even Jackson, maybe you own Gabriel, maybe you own a few, an Arsenal attacker or Odegaard. For me, this is the worst, probably. It's a bonus, don't get me wrong, it is a bonus because I don't think Newcastle would get a double game week if they did go through because of the fact they're not in Europe. So there's plenty of spots for them to play that midweek game. The only reason that Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs have a chance of a double game week is because they're in Europe. So And for me, it is a bonus. I just can't see it happening. But if they did end up getting a double game week, then potentially, if you don't have um, a few Arsenal and Chelsea players, then I potentially could be playing a free hit. I think if you could. If not, then taking hits is the one. And I think when you are taking hits, you've got to be looking at the attacking options. And for Arsenal this season, they haven't been great, to be honest with you. In terms of the highest scorer, it is Martinelli, and his kind of, I guess, place in the team is not secure. 15 starts for him is not great. For me, the person that is probably most nailed is someone like Havertz, but his form this season hasn't been great. 8 goals, 2 assists. For me, I'd probably stick with a defender and maybe go for someone like Odegaard. You know he's going to play. 1 goal, 3 assists this season again is not great, but I don't think you have many attacking options from Arsenal to be able to go for. You could argue Havertz, like I said, because of the fact that Gabriel Jesus is injured. But for me, I wouldn't risk it. I'd go for a defender and then go for someone like Odegaard just to be safe. In terms of Chelsea, if you don't own Palmer, I know some people have moved off Palmer now. Get Palmer back in if they double. Potentially Jackson could be an option. I'm a bit worried about his minutes, to be honest with you, but potentially could be an option. Madueke is also one of the highest scorers for Chelsea with 7 goals, 4 assists. But again, it's very, very risky for Chelsea, and I don't love their fixtures, to be honest. If they do double, they end up with Brighton away and Arsenal away. So for me, Palmer and maybe one other, maybe Jackson. But for me, I'm not too keen on Chelsea. There is an argument to say go for someone like maybe a Reece James. He at the minute is playing and he's playing okay, I'd say. He obviously got that goal last minute against Bournemouth, and he's been coming off early, which normally with an attacker you wouldn't like, but the fact that he is coming off early means he can bank clean sheets if Chelsea do concede after that. But this season, he started 5 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. We know when he starts, he can get returns. For me, I'd probably go for it at 4.8 million Reece James if they did double. However, other than that, Palmer, maybe Jackson, I wouldn't be going too heavy on the Chelsea or Arsenal assets. I'd probably say one or two from each is enough. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, like this video. It will really, really help me out. I'm trying to hit 2K subscribers at the minute, and every subscriber helps. So I do really, really appreciate it. And good luck for the game week.